On the show, we feature magician and event host Paul Martin.
Thank you very much, thank you.
You want your events to not only be successful, but exceptional and remembered for all the right reasons.
Tonight is a key night in Essentials calendar.
For over 20 years, Paul Martin has combined event hosting and entertainment and is the perfect choice to capture attention, engage audiences and maintain momentum.
Join me on stage and give them a round.
None of these envelopes I have placed £5.
Mr. John Ensor.
With his background in stand-up comedy, magic and mind reading, he's the perfect choice to keep your guests entertained and add a few magical surprises along the way.
We have decided to travel to Sweden.
Stay for 15 nights.
And spend £1 million.
Whether hosting conferences, award evenings, introducing speakers and special guests, or chairing Q&A and panel discussions, Paul's unique style is tailored to suit any type of event.
£2,000 thank you very much. So, we've raised more money tonight than ever before, so give yourself a big round of applause.
Frequently receiving 5-star reviews and audience feedback, he can design bespoke packages specifically for your event and audience.
We are going to play a game of noughts and crosses. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually a winning ball.
The UK private business. You've been fantastic, my name's Paul Martin. Have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much. Good night, thank you.
Get in touch with Paul's team today.
And welcome back, everybody, to Magical People. We have our very special guest this week, Paul Martin. How are you this week, Paul?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm so excited about this show and to be on it.
And so am I as well. Thank you for coming on. Because I was reviewing, of course, I was doing my notes pre-show, and I got even more excited, not just by your performance, which everyone just looked at very, very briefly, but you tend to be, with all due respect, a problem solver for a lot of people. And that has to do with sort of the behind the scenes. We're going to chat briefly and not so briefly to both lay people who are non-magicians and people who are magicians. Because I've noticed, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this that after 250 shows a year for about a dozen years, way back in the 80s and 90s when I was performing quite a bit, I noticed that a lot of shows were not very, very well planned. In other words, they just plugged me in and out of the show. Say if it was a variety show and then they had a juggler or whoever following me or ventriloquist act. But really, unless the organizer or the, I like to call it the sponsor, really knew what they were doing, it was sort of a mishmash. So they'd oftentimes, for example, they'd have on a grand stage a band, a rock band, and not take into account our setups. You know, they'd have maybe an odd-looking mic, one of those on the angled kind of stand, as opposed to, say, a lapel mic or whatever. And this can be annoying. However, the show must go on. You have to work around and with what you've got. So oftentimes I'd be trudging on, trying to be excited amongst cables and all this, and the rock band having just stopped or about to play. And I found it most annoying, however, didn't have much say because I was just plugged in as the performer. And what excites me very much about what you do is you're not just this, and I'm going to say at the risk of embarrassing you, a great performer, because I have seen snippets of your show and it's exciting. You're a pro. You've done many shows and I'm not going to embarrass you any further. But what excites me is you tend to be a problem solver for the organizers or sponsors. Can we chat a little bit about this and elaborate somewhat?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of those points you just raised are our world are our problems. You know, these are exactly the problems you have. So when you turn up to a corporate event and let's say I'm just doing a show, they forget to mention that the band's there, and you know the band, let's be honest, likes to have the whole stage. So they may forget that I'm, and this still happens to this day, you know, I'm the corporate host, I'm the host of the evening, I'm doing all the awards, I'm doing a show, I'm bringing people up on stage. Yet they tend to forget that. The band will forget that. So this is why it's so important, firstly, to arrive early so you can address this, make sure we've all got plenty of room. Equally, I mean, I solved this problem by saying I'm going to do the hoop and glass. They soon move their pedals, everything back when they see a rehearsal of that trick, let me tell you. But no, so this all came about being your magical host because I was doing a lot of cabaret shows and I thought I could add a lot more to an event as the host. Now, I'm not a celebrity. Haven't been on AGT or BGT. I'm just not really interested in that. What I am interested is in delivering a world-class service at any event. And to do that, I created Your Magical Host. So I will help plan the event. So if it's a small company, for instance, I might offer up a script that they can use as a template. I can help discuss exactly all of those problems that have arisen. But equally, I arrive so early, I can address all of that. I can go through the script. I mean, I could talk about hosting all night, to be honest, because
Sure.
the other night I did one. I had no script. I literally was given something, 10 minutes before. A week ago, I was up until about 5 minutes before I was due to go on. I was rewriting the script with the teleprompter girl. Other times you'll have it, a month in advance. It's one of those things. So you think on your feet a lot as an event host. And obviously I'm your magical host, so that is a massive bonus that I have. But going back to the question, yes, I help not so much the event planners, because the really big event planners are pretty switched on, but some of the smaller ones, they forget about the lectern being there, that bloody awful microphone with the big, like a guitarist's microphone, let's call it.
Yeah.
And, it works. I straighten it up. They forget if you're going to walk out into the audience and there's only a cable mic, all these sort of real world problems. And this is the sort of things, because I kind of coach magicians as well. So this is the sort of things that I address on my courses with the Pro Magic Academy. So we're well aware of all of those things. But my biggest bugbear, definitely are bands. 100%. Yeah.
Right. One of the things when looking through your website as well was I love the structure that you've come up with as far as helping not so much the event planners, because as you say, they do know most of the time what they're doing, but really say the sponsor themselves if you're dealing directly with a sponsor. And one of the things I love is that you have divided up more or less into 4 parts. Pre-event consultation, warm-up questionnaire, 3rd planning session, and 4th check-in call. And half as a joke and half serious, I instant messaged you about an hour or 2 ago saying this is my check-in call, if you will.
Do you know what? Yeah, it works, right? You are checking in. Okay, that's a very last-minute check-in call, but I'm very passionate about not only the performance side of magic, but also I'll keep going on about delivering this world-class service that we have to do now to stand out from all our, there's a million competitors out there. And as a magician, because we do tricks, you could be the world's worst performer, the world's worst business person, the world's worst presenter, and still actually do okay.
Yes.
Because you can do tricks, right? And the audience, the lay audience, are going to be, oh wow, my God, you've just made a card come to the top of the deck, or I just named a card in the audience and it was the only one reversed in the deck. Amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have to go above and beyond to prove that that's not us. We are, the professional side. Let me
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I forget who it was I chatted with the other day, but they more or less said the exact same thing, and it's really important to mention is not to demean our art or our craft, if you will, but somebody, and it was somebody big, somebody famous from television, who said, actually, I do remember who it was, but I won't say who it was. He said, ours is the only art or craft where you can buy your talent, if you will, or you, right? And you know exactly what I'm saying. It's pretty much what you just said. You buy an effect or an illusion, and with very little, and this irks me somewhat. Hopefully, we'll elaborate on this. Um, you can buy an illusion or a trick, and it's almost what we call self-working.
Yeah.
And sure, great, but I really want to address all the things that I'm assuming, and I know that you teach in your professional courses and routines and Pro Magic Academy, is really showmanship and pacing
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
timing and theater and all that, which
Exactly.
without that, you're merely a hobbyist or merely someone who is doing
Yeah.
tricks and maybe getting paid. I mean, how many times have I in the past, when I was right in the middle of not having agents, as soon as I had agents, a lot of my issues were solved. But a lot of people would ring me up and go, so how many tricks can you do in half an hour? And I'm thinking, what? They're basing my fee or the potential fee
Yeah.
on how many tricks. And then I began to feel like a juggler of
Yeah.
props as opposed to an artist. So, what are your feelings? And I know you have solutions for this.
Yeah, I mean, on a sales point of view for that kind of thing, I never price myself per hour anymore. I mean, I got rid of that a long time ago, and it's all about delivering for the event and what the event requires. So I have a kind of set fee, but I don't mind whether I'm doing an hour or 10 hours, to be honest, because for me, as my fee is high enough for me to be out. I want to go out of the house, earn a very good fee, and come home. Or, quite often I'm traveling. So that would be even more of a fee. But I don't do that fee where it's quite a small amount anymore because, one, I don't need to, but equally, because I want to deliver that world class service, it doesn't matter if I turn up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Even though I may not be, the actual event isn't starting till 7. My job is to make sure that everything's in place. I've spoken to everyone. The maitre d' knows who I am. The staff may have met me or seen me rehearsing. I've covered every base that I'm going to be doing 10 minutes at the beginning that they might not have known about, or I'm going to do this trick. I've spoke to the band and said, I'm going to be throwing a hoop with a drink on it. So you might want to move your, electric plugs and whatnot. And I'll keep coming back, do that trick because they bloody move it. So I would rather have all of that in place and earn a really good fee, and my clients book me for that. They know they can rely on me. They know I deliver a brilliant show. I mean, my cabaret show has been designed over, let's say, probably about 15 years, and I've done what everyone else has done. I've bought tricks. I've modeled myself on other people. I've done every aspect of it until I you go full circle, you become yourself, and then you do tricks that actually work for you. But mine's a very pack small, play big because I travel a lot. But you sort of realize that it's not the tricks. The tricks are totally irrelevant. It's about the show. It's about the presentation. It's about engaging with the audience. I see so many performers turning around because they're so used to working in a bar or, for their family and friends. They don't realize that, when you're on a stage, you have to be on a stage and you have to present and you have to perform. So many, let's say 90% of probably magicians get that massively wrong. Fortunately, there's a massive 10% is a huge amount, and we all get it right. But so have I waffled on here a little bit? I hope not. So my core belief is to over deliver to the client, make sure everything's in place, and therefore everyone is on the same page. We all have a great night. Everything runs smoothly. your event is remembered for all the right reasons. I feel like I'm talking to an event organizer here, but you get the idea. So the show, the actual tricks and the show is quite a small part. Going back quickly, if I may, is I've actually taught a magician to be a magician in literally a week. You know, a friend of mine was like, he was a musician. I said, look, come out with me. You know, you'll get £500 a night. You know, I used to be a very, very busy close-up magician, probably one of the busiest in the world, you know, definitely in the UK. And I was inundated with work. He's a really lovely, good friend of mine. So I said, look, buy this, buy that. We won't go into too many details, but he made a living as a close-up magician. And not long after, you know, obviously I taught him and sort of said, look, do this, do that, do it this way. He wasn't an idiot. He was a nice guy, big plus. He knew how to talk to people, big plus. But he did learn, you know, a certain amount of tricks in a very short period of time. I also taught him a lot of card stuff and said, you need to get these basics off because it will help you in the long run. But he was a close-up magician for a few years. He did well. But equally, yeah, as you know,
Yes.
unfortunately, you know, we could take anyone watching this video now, they could message me and I say, okay, let's get this, and this. And you can go and do a show.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
where
Yes.
I mean, it's the same as a comedian. It's the same. It would be the same as us stealing some jokes from a comedian and going out on stage and saying those jokes and thinking that we are a comedian. That's kind of how I think, unfortunately, magic can be. And it shouldn't be like it is like that, but it shouldn't be like that.
I agree 1,000%. I believe, and I hope you agree with me on this, it's a question of, and I think you used this term earlier, finding yourself. And
Yeah.
I believe the only way to do that is to do, not literally, but perhaps 1,000,000 shows.
Yeah.
And the more shows you do over time, you begin to, this happened to me within 3 years of turning professional back in the early 80s. There was this aha moment, if you will, right in the middle of a show on stage, and I completely relaxed. I didn't have it in my head. I wasn't three, if you will, tricks down, you know, the road in my show. Okay, I hope this string is working or whatever, and you know, I've got this. All of a sudden, I finally, boom, I relaxed. I was able to improvise. I was able to interact more with the audience. And a short while after, I began to, if you will, at the time, find myself. And for me, in that case, it was a wonderful show from the mid-'80s or early '80s called Robin of Sherwood. In the UK, it was called, in North America, it was called Robin Hood. And I could relate to the costumes of that period, of that day. So I became, if you will, that character. Young kids were in awe and whatnot. But really, it's a question of doing shows. You can't just come out.
No, you can't. And comedians will say it's finding your voice. Okay. And I you know, wondered what that was. Or would you have to find some persona or something like that? And it's quite interesting what you said there, because you were playing a character, correct?
Yes.
But you were playing that character as yourself, as you. You know,
Right.
you became that character, not the character wasn't defining you. And that is kind of the big step here. So for me, as a, you know, comedy, mind reading, magician kind of thing on stage, yeah, I mean, people influenced me early on, and I tried tricks that probably didn't suit me or weren't suitable for my style. But you don't know that, you know, you only find that out the more and more you do, and then you eventually find stuff that you like. So I'm not, you know, when I was a kid, I was doing a manipulation act because that was kind of what Harry Stanley, who kind of taught me, you know, who trained Johnny Hart, that's what his thing was. So for him, it was like, yes, produce all these symbols, make these rings link, float a ball, let's play some cheesy music underneath, you know, and that's your act. Well, that wasn't my act. That was good back then, you know, when I was 11 years old. But my act is standing on stage, you know, telling a few jokes, reading someone's mind, having some fun. And now, without a doubt, hosting the whole night. That suits me very, very well. I deliver it really well. It's a good niche market for me. So yeah, it's about but I found myself. I didn't have to try to be anyone else.
Exactly. And really, it's not a question of impersonating somebody else. I mean,
No,
a lot of beginners, a lot of, if you will, novices, will have someone that they admire, that they emulate. And there's nothing wrong with that.
no.
You can run with that for a while, but eventually, either it'll catch up with you and you'll start to fit a mold or something.
Yeah.
Something will become you or you'll become it. But how many times, and I know you'll know what I'm talking about here, Paul, is I think it was in the 80s, Dove acts were really popular. I believe Lance
Yeah.
Burton and
Yeah.
all of those. And so I'd go visit conventions, not to compete. I was never into competitions.
No.
I was just into performing a lot and the money that comes with it and improving myself, etc., and routining and all that sort of thing. But I remember sitting in a convention, a particular convention, I think it was Montreal, several years in a row, and every single act on that stage, either competing or otherwise, 3 or 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10 were Dove acts, and you can see they don't feel comfortable. You can
No.
see the way they're dressed. They don't, by their posture, they're not in their element,
Yeah.
and it bothered me a great deal.
Yeah. And equally, not last year, but pre-COVID at Blackpool, I saw, on the gala show, and no disrespect to the organisers of the gala show, but I saw the same rope routine, one after the other.
Oh,
I mean, I don't understand that. I've seen at the Magic Circle, a magician do a couple of old gags, and then the next act come on and do the same gags. I mean, it just blows my mind. Now, I'm not going to say I've never used an old gag. Of course I have, and sometimes it's absolutely fine. When I'm in Norway, I can do as many as I like, to be honest, because I work a lot there. They've never heard any of them. But, I'm very passionate that my show is full of my own material, and, it's me. So equally, it's such a shame, isn't it? When that gag I'm talking about there is about 80 years old.
mhm.
I mean, it's that old. It's like, and it's still being used today. Unfortunately, by 2 acts in the same show, one after the other. Unbelievable. And like you say about the Dove acts, we've all been there. We've seen how many ways can you produce a dove, really? I mean, and it's kind of gone now, right? But equally, that like rope routines, you're cutting your saw in a rope. Everyone, Richard Sanders, what's his rope routine called? A brilliant.
Oh,
Everyone's got the DVD if you're into ropes.
oh,
Anyway,
I know.
2 people were doing pretty much that routine,
Yes.
one after the other. So what would the audience think about that? I mean, you never see a famous copycat magician, do you? I mean, maybe on TV there might be something a bit similar, if we go down the street magic route or something like that. But I'm never going to be successful copying Darren Brown. I may do all right in the corporate world, but you're not going to become Darren Brown by pretending to be Darren Brown, and you're not going to become like David Copperfield pretending to be David Copperfield. So you need to be yourself, and it is a weird thing, isn't it? It's not something you can really explain. It's something you feel as you felt it in that moment on that night. You just relaxed and you thought. I remember walking out on stage when I was really relaxed and I wasn't thinking about, oh my God, am I going to mess this up? What comes next, etc., etc. I was just relaxed and I delivered a show.
Yes.
And that's when I now know I can really deliver my show. I can really, really work the audience when I'm performing one of my tricks and enjoy it. I totally enjoy it because I'm being me and I'm performing. Performing is a really good word, isn't it? I'm genuinely performing for the audience.
I love that. I love that. I remember someone in my show, he was a variety entertainer. I think he played a musical instrument. I mean, I can as well, but his role was to back me up musically. And I was still nervous back then. I hadn't had enough, I believe, it was my first or second year in the business. And he said to me, just before I went out, he knew I was nervous. I would never show it on stage. Another performer would know. They'd be aware of the feeling, the timing, etc. If you're really connecting or not with your audience. And he said, "Well, then either go out and enjoy it or don't do it at all." And I thought,
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the truth of it, isn't it? You know, I mean, so many performers suffer with a lot of anxiety, and I don't. You know, I'm not saying I never get nervous. Or the first time I hosted a massive awards night, I was literally waiting for someone to come on and pull me off, you know, and say, "Who are you kidding? You know, you're not a host." You know, I mean, the event organizer was putting a, you know, "Are you okay with in ear? You know, I can talk." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I didn't even know what it was, you know, and reading my auto cue with this. But, you know, it worked. It worked. 1,000 people. I got through it.
"Oh, sure. Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely." I want to get to a little bit more emphasis on you and what you have to offer, uh,
Sure.
besides the obvious, because what comes to mind right away when organizing a show or an event, if you will, involving perhaps more than one magician. Now, personally, I would never, if I'm the organizer of an event, never have more than one, maybe two, one at the beginning, one at the end, and then check with them and make sure what effects they're doing.
Yeah.
Either have it written down and we can connect, or just get together and go, okay, well, he's doing, I'll call it the three rope trick.
Yeah.
For the lay people out there, and he's doing that. How about if you do Daryl's rope routine, if you will, and magicians will
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and you do that, and it makes for a way better show. There's nothing to really worry about if you have, say, a guitarist or a rock band at the beginning.
No.
As long as the acts are all different. But it's when you have similar acts that you have something to worry about, and a little
Yeah.
bit more organizing comes in. How can you help potential party planners, event planners? They know what they're doing, but
Sure.
say you're planning the event, you're organizing the whole thing from beginning to end. Even weddings are a big up and coming thing again. Everything comes in cycles, and it was huge years ago, but it's becoming huge again. And your services, from what I can tell, would be just so appreciated and
Oh
needed.
yeah. I mean, we hopefully we talk later about my wedding MC masterclass. But from the question there is, if I'm putting together a night, an entertainment evening, you know, I'm going to pick magicians who I know won't be very similar, and this really does come back to magicians who, you know, I'm not going to book someone who would just buy a load of tricks. They're not going to be on my radar. I'm not really interested in them. I want to book quality act who I find unique. And that doesn't mean that I have to particularly even like that act, but it would have to fit into the show. And so they've got to be a proper act. Now, when it comes to magicians, I've often been on the bill with, another couple of magicians. I've got my own version of Bank Night. I sell one. I've been on the bill with John Archer, who's got his version of Bank Night. I was the host. He said to me, "I want to do my Bank Night." I was like, "Absolutely no problem. You do your Bank Night. It's your Bank Night. Go for it." Because I'm the host. Now, as the host, it's not my job to really over impress and like upstage the acts. Our job is to make sure the night runs smoothly, entertain the crowd, get them in the right mood, bring the acts on really well, take them off, you know, and just guide the evening nicely. That's our job. It's a bit of a thankless role, actually. And more often than not, we do a few tricks along the way, but you don't have to. So as a host, I would, if I'm planning a night, before the even night began, everyone's going to give me their set list. And by that, you know, I'm going to see who's doing what. We're going to discuss who can do what, who's not going to do what. And we do this at the Magic Circle when we're hosting a night there or something. We'll all send through our set lists. Because unfortunately, as we know with magic, my Bank Night is very different to John's, but it's still an envelope trick with money involved. And it's not going to work for me on the same bill. So one of us has got to cut it out. Pretty much the same as a rope trick. So yeah, we want to book acts. If I'm booking a manip act who's doing billiard balls and cards, I'm not going to book another one who's doing billiard balls and cards. I might then book just a Dove act, back in the day. But so the tricks I sell are, yes, I'm selling a trick, but you make it your own, if that makes sense,
Yes.
So, my bank night, yes, I'll give you a routine. Yes, you can copy that if you want, but you can equally totally make it your own. So it's your own unique routine. So it's not like, no disrespect, a signature card rise or something along where you've got a trick. That's what happens. Ta-di-da-da. I'm trying to think of some tricks that are like that without, giving anything away or saying any tricks. So the way I get around that, everyone emails in beforehand, does their set list on the night. I put them in an order that I think is going to work well. Then I will think about what I might do as the host to, I don't want to upstage the first act because I know the first act might not be as good as me or as good as the one after them. I'm just going to gently warm up the crowd, bring on the first act. Never ever slag off an act, even if they've died on the death. Let's hear it one more time. You don't have to say, "Oh, it's their first time out." Just fantastic, thank you so much. Now let's kick it up a stage. Let's bring on the, boom, straight on. Always positive. So, does that answer your question?
It sure it sure does.
I would add, if I could quickly add, with event organisers, I literally, like we were referring back earlier, I can send them a script, like a template script. So if it's an awards night, and this happens a lot with small companies when they might have a 25th anniversary or something like that, and they're having their big do, and Janet, the PA, is organising it, for instance. I will send them a script. I'll say, look, here's a basic script. That's my introduction. I say all that. You have to fill in the little bits where it says company, what the event is, because I don't know that, right? And if there's anything you want me to say about your company, you can write it here. This is how I do an awards. I say, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our first award. Our sponsor is, and then you're going to fill that in, and da-da-da-da-da. And to present this award, would you please welcome Paul Martin, or whoever it may be. And I emphasize, put the name last, that's our applause cue. And I write that out, that's written out for them, and I give that to them so that I've got a good script. They understand even what a script is. I then also have a client questionnaire that is about, the look and feel of their event, what kind of vibe they want, what's the dress code, the demographic of the audience, all of these things. So we can really make it the best it can be. And they love that because it helps them organize the event.
Absolutely.
And like the check-in calls, I'll have that. Is everything all right? Anything else you need from me? And you can obviously do that over Zoom these days. Zoom, COVID's wonderful in a way that it's helped this genre be so accessible for people. And then I've taken all of that I do so well for the corporate and put that into the wedding market, which, maybe we'll talk about later on, but
Well, actually, it's a perfect segue. I was going to bring up weddings, which are sort of having a rebirth. Maybe in certain parts of the world, they didn't decline, but certainly in certain parts of the world, there's this great regeneration again, if you will, for lack of a better term, of planning weddings. And how stressful is it for the bride and groom? And you take that stress away from them, don't you?
I really do. In fact, I'll see if I can quickly do this. So I have a masterclass that I sell to magicians about how to be a wedding MC. And that is all about, in the UK, magic is huge at weddings. It always has been. It's a massive market. We do reception drinks, table magic, sometimes a little show. And then we have a traditional Toastmaster who's sort of a red suited official kind of guy banging a gavel. So and in America, the DJ does that, right? So the DJ's pretty funky, funks it up, gets on the dance floor. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the bride and groom and blah, blah, blah. So I've taken all of that and combined it into being your magical wedding MC. And that's what we do now at a lot of weddings in the UK. Now, the good thing about that is it doubles, triples your normal fee as a magician you're doing less work and earning triple the amount that you normally would. So you literally, you know, a six-figure salary very, very easily without having to try too hard. You know, it's like 7 jobs a month, which is great fun. It's easy to do. And my course teaches you how to do that. It's a done for you course from beginning to end. But what I do and what I've taken from the corporate world, and I'll just see if I can show you this, is I'll have like this. Let's see. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a run sheet, right? And we're currently on page 7, so I'll go back to the beginning. But this is what I will give the bride and groom. And this is literally a guide for their whole day. And obviously it's all marked up with all of my social media. This first page just explains how to fill out the form. The next page is going to be some timelines, things like that, all the supplier details, and then we basically get on to, like, 8 o'clock. That's a mini one page run sheet there, but then we get on to setup, ceremony, etc. Set up, drinks, reception. We cover every single aspect, even to the point of who's got the knife to cut the cake, right? So every little aspect. What time the bride's getting her hair done. I also have this form, which is called a wedding party details form, which will give me all of the information I need to host the wedding. So who are the bridesmaids, the best men, what name are they coming into, etc., etc. So I supply all of that now for a wedding. And what that does is, it delivers that sort of world-class service. So the brides are like, oh my God, I had no idea how much I needed to know, but this solves all of my problems. Now, the good thing about that is that gets shared with everyone else. So it gets shared with the photographer, the videographer, the venue, the ice cream, whoever it might be who's there gets my run sheet with all of my social media and all of my contact details. And I equally get everyone else's contact details. So it's a very easy way to network. And I've kind of designed that from the corporate side of what I created on the corporate side to not over deliver, but deliver. I keep saying it, deliver a world-class service. So yeah, that's kind of how I will work at an event, especially a wedding. I know I've had a couple of people sign up from the States for the wedding MC course, and I'm actually as interested to see how well they do. I'll very briefly tell you, it's a lifetime access to the course. It's a completely done for you course. I take you from literally not knowing a thing to being a rock star wedding MC. But equally, there's a private Facebook group, weekly Zoom. So I'm coaching weekly to everyone in the group. So I'm very keen to, develop them in the States because it's a huge market. I mean, no one's doing it.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't understand why. If I was there and anyone watching this, go and find some wedding planners and just say to them, look, I'm a brilliant magician. Let me come and do some reception and table magic. If you like it and it goes down well with the clients, let's have a chat, because it's a huge, huge market. And it's just that maybe the perception is it's for kids or whatever it might be, or that doesn't work at weddings. It really, really does. And they will absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the fact that you've got this all pretty much down to a science. I love the fact that what you do essentially is make life a little bit easier for everybody, at least
everyone,
and accessibility is so good. It's so sorely lacking in other areas. So that's one of the many things I really love and admire about you, Paul, is the fact that you have it down to a science. You're glorified. In my eyes, you are a major problem solver, and because times like that can be stressful for anybody getting married. It can be overwhelming, and here you are. You're solving it for them.
But equally, whether it's the wedding or the corporate, it's solving all their problems with really doing very little work ourselves, because I've done the hard work. I've got the form for them. I'm there. It's a couple of meetings, even like this, like your system you're using. That you're using OBS.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm using Ecamm. Okay. But it's like the idiot's guide to OBS. Okay. So, but what it allows me to do is bring up those forms and do lots of other stuff. So when I'm on a meeting with the bride and groom, I can bring them up. When I'm in a sales meeting, I might have, got them in to have a little chat about their wedding. Then I start talking about, yes, I can do close up, or I can do a half day MC or a full day MC. Then I start showing them these forms, talking about that. And that's when they're like, oh my God, this is like, and I've literally doubled my fee like that. And I haven't, all I've done is show them a form and talk about it. So and then it's for them to fill out. I've made my whole life as simple as possible, but to deliver the maximum effect.
Exactly.
That's my plan, so yeah.
I love as well that right now you're appealing to professional magicians as well as lay people who are planning something, hopefully, and that's what's so exciting about all of this. Now, I don't want to forget about the Pro Magic Academy and all you have to offer there. Can you speak briefly on it?
Yeah, so the Pro Magic Academy I set up pretty much about a year before lockdown, but the whole wedding MC thing, that's all part of the Pro Magic Academy. So I originally did it, I got into sort of this camera stuff, doing some quizzes on lockdown, but I was selling the hoop and glass masterclass because it's a great trick. You can see it there, right?
Yeah.
It's a brilliant trick. No one really knows how to do it. No one knows where to buy the hoops or the glasses or anything else, or what skill set you need. No one will tell you. So I spent a year learning it, and then I sold it to magicians, and it's proved to be extremely popular because it's one of those tricks that you have to practice. You can't do it. When you can do it and then you stand on a stage and do it, it's a whole different ball game yet again. So you've got to keep doing it to get good at it. We know some very famous people who do that trick, but I think it's one of those tricks. It just sets the magician apart, just gives us another little angle rather than just doing a few tricks. It's like a lovely intro or outro for an evening, let me toast the audience or whatever way you want to do it. So I started selling that and that went very well. Then I released my bank night, which I was already selling, but I wanted a sort of platform to put it on. So I just put that onto the same platform as the hoop. And then I thought, right, how can I've now got this new business, basically. So yes, I'm a magician. Yes, I'm an event host, which is together. Yes, I'm emceeing at weddings. What can I teach magicians that is really going to really change their life? I wanted something to literally, this is a tall order, but my vision was to be able to help magicians earn in a month what they would normally earn in a year. Okay, so that's my goal personally. For me, I want to earn in a month what I would normally earn in a year. For me, that's pretty tough, right? And the only way I'm going to do that is sell a ton of courses. But if you're an average magician, work in restaurants, something like that, I can easily teach you how to do that. But equally, look, any magician of their own sort should be able to earn a six-figure salary pretty easy doing what I do. And I show on the Pro Magic Academy, I show you exactly how to do that. With the Wedding MC, I have a free webinar that anyone can watch. I'm sure we'll share the link somewhere along the line, or come and check me out, drop me a message, I'll give it to you. And that's like 6 or 7 tips that you can implement straight away into your business, into your magic business, that will increase your fees. The biggest problem with magicians is they are not business people.
Right.
Well, a couple of problems. They're not all of them are very good performers. Can't really do much. I can do something about that, but it's like it's a big story, right? And one-on-one coaching, etc. But they're also bad business people, as most people are. No one's born as a brilliant salesperson or a brilliant business person. So, increase your fees. People will pay it. I promise you. And I'll say this, a lot of the people on my wedding MC course, one of their major takeaways is that they've literally doubled their fees or just increased their close-up fee by several £100s, and they're getting those fees
Absolutely.
because they are asking for it, you know. And when you write the emails correctly, you over deliver a little bit with these forms if you need to, and you're just nice, you know, and follow up. You can charge pretty much what you want because you're selling the value. You're not selling the time. When you quote someone, oh, I'm 2 hours for close up. I'll come to your restaurant for 2 hours. No, because that is immediately that client or that person is going to go, how much for 2 hours? I get that for 2 hours. So that's just never talk about. We have to talk about hours further down the line because you're going to be an event for a certain amount of time. But don't sell your time by the hour. Sell it for the experience, the value you're going to give the event, etc., etc. I'm getting a bit salesy here, but
No, it's absolutely true. And one of the things I learned, and I know you'll agree with me on this, is value for dollar, but more than that. For example, someone taught me a long time ago when I was just starting out, explain to the potential client, this is a different venue, by the way, a different sort of market I'm getting at the moment, how they can make money using you.
yeah,
So, in other words, you're a feature. They want to come to your restaurant or to your bar or to your event because you're there. You're the only magician. You can provide laughs. You can provide entertainment. You can.
yeah,
So it's value for dollar. It's padding stuff, but it's not. It's being honest. It's saying, look, this is something that no other place has. At the time when I moved, I guess in the early 80s to central Canada, there were a lot of professional magicians, but they weren't working. And I didn't know why. I came from a way larger center out east of there. And magic was everywhere. Magic was at weddings. Magic was at bars. You couldn't go to a restaurant without having a magician. And it wasn't always the same magician, so it was exciting. It was very, it wasn't as if, oh, here's Joe Blow again, and we just saw this other.
He's doing the same tricks,
You know. But when I came to this other city, it was like ripe for me. And plus the people were very open and happy. They wanted to have a good time. And an angle I took was when I'd walk in, I'd do a lot of cold calls back when I was braver and younger in my 20s. I'd walk into a place, a venue, a bar, restaurant, whatever, but then it had to feel right. I'd drive around and I'd go, okay, this place feels right. I'd go in already with my close-up case or close-up effects and say, this is how you're going to make more money. And they were that got their attention. I didn't quite say it like that, but to that effect. And the same thing in my newspaper ads back then. Yes, we did have newspaper ads. We didn't have.
Yeah, that's how I started. Yeah, Yellow Pages.
So as we begin to wrap up, Paul, I want people to be able to access you. I want them to be able to get in touch with you because really and quite frankly, it's invaluable what you have to offer them. It's so crucial on so many levels. It's crucial for magicians, performance artists. It's crucial for people having any sort of special event. How can they get in touch with you?
So my corporate site is Paul Martin Magic, paulmartinmagic.com or yourmagicalhost.com, but just go to paulmartinmagic.com. That's for any corporate bookings. If you want to book me to host an awards night, a conference, or perform my after dinner cabaret show, that's where you would go. For magicians or entertainers, speakers, MCs, comedians, basically go to promagicacademy.co.uk. That's just www.promagicacademy.co.uk. And on there, I sell courses and routines guaranteed to make the audience laugh, gasp, and applaud 100%, or I literally give you your money back. My signature course at the moment is my professional wedding MC masterclass, which you can watch the free webinar. Then you jump on a call with me and have a chat, see if it's suitable for you. Big in Canada, a few people in Canada, States. It's just untapped. You could become literally a millionaire, I'm telling you. And then I also do one-on-one coaching, but I don't do that for everybody. You have to kind of, have to have a feel that we're going to be able to work together, and I can definitely help you. And the reason I say that is because, I actually want to make a massive benefit to your not your career, your life, your career, your personal life, everything about it. And if I'm going to commit a lot of my time to you, then I have to know that you're going to give it back.
Absolutely.
So that's a very niche side of what I do. But yeah, Pro Magic Academy or paulmartinmagic.com.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm so glad we connected today.
Oh, fantastic.
You know, and lots of information there for both regular people, lay people. I don't like the term muggles. It sounds derogatory. So I don't know why.
Strange. Even lay people is a bit weird, let's be honest. But yeah, people.
So thank you so much, Paul Martin, for taking the time to visit us this day.
Thank you so much.
And as well, I want to thank all of you out there for joining us this day as well. We'll see you all very soon on Magical People.